In this video, we are going to be making this painted bottle centerpiece with tissue paper flowers. By utilizing painter's tape, we can create an ombre effect to celebrate the changing of the seasons. So let's get started by reviewing the supplies and tools we'll need. An empty wine bottle, painter's tape, wire, permanent marker, a craft knife and cutting mat, paint, paintbrush and sponge, paper plates, gloss glaze, tissue paper, construction paper, stem wire, pliers, scissors, a stapler, oil, soap and scrubber, and a hairdryer. Step 1. Remove labels and foil. Take a pair of scissors and make a small incision in your bottle's foil if it has any. Then use a pair of pliers to pull it off. Take your bottle over to the sink and add a generous amount of vegetable oil and rub it into the labels. This is going to help loosen up the adhesive. When you've taken off as much as you can with just your hands, turn on some warm water and use a scrubber pad to scrub the rest off. With the labels completely removed, wash the bottle with soap and then dry it off. Step 2. Apply painter's tape. Now wrap the entire bottle with painter's tape, making sure that there are no gaps. It's okay to overlap tape as long as you press firmly into the bottle. You want to have a nice seal with no air pockets. Step 3. Wrap, wire, and draw. To create a consistent spiral around the bottle, we are going to wrap it in wire and then use the wire as a guide. We want to have two distinct spirals, so after the first is drawn, turn the wire a little bit around the bottle and then draw again. Step 4. Draw a pattern. Using a permanent marker, hand draw a pattern onto the bottle. For this bottle, I'm choosing leaves, but you can draw whatever you like. If you don't feel comfortable using marker directly on the bottle, try using pencil first and then going over it with the marker. You'll notice that I drew the leaves facing downward on the first spiral section. For this section, I'm choosing to draw them facing the other way to add some variety and so that I don't mix up the sections while I'm cutting in the next step. Step 5. Cut out pattern. Take your craft knife and begin to cut out your pattern. For my bottle, I'm going to be making use of positive and negative space by cutting out the background on one spiral and then the leaves on the other spiral. And remember that what you cut out in this step will become the painted part of the bottle. So in the finished product, the appearance of positive and negative space will be reversed. And don't worry about the knife scratching the bottle. If you're using a standard craft knife, it won't be hard enough to scratch the glass, but be careful anyway. Step 6. Paint. To create an ombre effect going downward on our bottle, start by applying a layer of each color using a regular paintbrush. This layer will look very patchy, but will serve as a base for the additional layers of paint. Try using a hairdryer between layers to save time. After your first coat has had some time to dry, go back and add a second. Now we are going to switch over to the sponge brush and really pack on the color. Add as many coats as you need, but make sure to allow enough dry time between coats or you'll risk pulling past paint up. Patience will be key. Step 7. Prep tissue paper. While your bottle dries, we are going to make the tissue paper flowers. I like to cut out a section that's about the same dimensions as a letter-sized sheet of paper. Then I'll save the remainder for stuffing a gift bag or making other tissue paper flowers. Repeat with all colors. Step 8. Fold, staple, and fluff. Take 5 sheets of tissue paper and fold it into halves, quarters, and eighths, and then unfold so you can fold it back up like an accordion. Then fold a small rectangle of construction paper and sandwich it into your tissue paper. Then gently fold one end of the paper so you can staple the bunch right in the middle of the seam. Cut your construction paper in half and then make little slits, making sure not to cut down into the tissue paper. Next, cut the edges of the paper on each side before opening it up into a flower shape. Now you can fluff your flower by taking the first sheet of tissue paper and gently pulling it up towards the center. Continue this process around the flower, doing each layer one at a time until you have a big fluffy flower. Step 9. Add stem. Take your stem wire and gently poke it through a few layers of tissue paper on the back of your flower. Then fold the wire back onto itself to hold it in place. Repeat these steps using other tissue papers. Instead of a construction paper center, you can also use a thinner piece of tissue paper in another color. You can also experiment with rounded edges to mix it up. Step 10. Remove painter's tape. Using your craft knife, carefully remove the painter's tape by rescoring the edges of your pattern. If needed, remove the tape in small sections. To ensure crisp edges, pull the tape slowly and gently. It might look like I'm pulling it up fast, but I had to speed up the footage to keep the video from being too long. Step 11. Seal with glaze. I'm using a high gloss glaze to seal and protect my bottle so that it will last year after year. Step 12. Trim stems and arrange flowers. Measure your stem against the bottle and then trim to your desired height. Repeat on all flowers and arrange. And here is our painted bottle centerpiece. You can use tissue paper flowers or real flowers. You can even use a wine bottle candelabra to add a touch of elegance.